Good morning, everyone. Second day, first speaker is always a bit difficult because I've heard it's been a good evening and particularly also a good day yesterday. Let me start by saying this is non-scripted. I'd like certainly also the part that we have as a Q&A to make sure that that is something that is absolutely viable. What it is about, it's about the road ahead. It is about, probably as some people would say, it's a road less traveled, if you take a title of another book. It is about responsibility and retailing, and it's about social responsibility. I have not been speaking on this subject for the last 2 years deliberately. And the reason is that some of you might have seen in the past our business card, the card I carry every day and hand over wherever I am. Maybe you can put the loudness a little bit up, because I can hardly hear myself. So you might hear me. I have a bit of a cold. Couldn't do it actually at 17 degrees outside. We have this on our business card. This is Plan A. The nice thing with Plan A is this has been great for us. You would know Plan A, and if you look at the 5 pleas we've got on there, the 5 issues, I'll turn the page and I'll say what we have on that, on Plan A. It was launched in 2007. We committed 100 issues at that stage. We committed 5 pillars, which was climate change, waste, sustainable raw materials, fair partner, and health. And these are simply, when you hand it over somewhere in the world, extremely powerful, because people immediately see that's what these guys are about. We called it Plan A, and by the way, it wasn't we. I'll be, in these kind of things, always very clear who's the master, and that was Stuart Rose. He called it Plan A, not Plan B, and I think that was very powerful. So it was like, there's no option. We're going to do this. And Stuart has done a magnificent job in designing it with the team and making sure that it was called Plan A, simply because the Plan B does not exist. What was the journey? The journey actually was getting results on several sites, and you will not have today an advertising session. But just to point out a couple of things that were at least not only good to do, but not always easy. You see here a picture of Eccleshare Road, one of the stores I opened, and by the way, was again planned already in Stuart's thing, so nothing mistaken there. This was a store that had an energy efficiency of 23%. You'll see, by the way, also a green wall on it, with 23 different species that are growing there. By the way, the stones of the store are regenerated from old stone by a stone mill in the neighborhood of Sheffield, because Eccleshare Road is in the neighborhood of Sheffield. And when I opened that store, everybody said, we've never seen anything like that, because the stone comes from the region, is regenerated. Anything there is reused in this store. Now the nice thing about that is it not only does the right thing, but it sets the right example. Because that sort of idea of regenerating stuff, that is actually what is so important for people to get into their minds. There have been other technology, also technology in-store, so this was the outside, but also the inside. We have brought down our refrigeration and conditioning gases dramatically. Also, we've brought down the waste. If you look at waste, March 2011, and what I don't give you now is a mass of numbers for 2 reasons. One, that would sound like advertising. 2, anything that is here is not yet our report until the full end of year. That's next month, and we'll have a Plan A conference on that, but we want it audited. Just to share with you, when you do these things, you want external auditors to audit you, because you're not going to talk good about yourselves. This is something you need to take very serious. So what you're doing here is we're showing you some numbers that already by March last year, we had a recycling rate of 98%. Should go to 100, everybody would say. Total waste was down 34%, and we're on track to a zero-waste landfill by the end of this year. Still the target. Now, it was a 5-year program we started. And I have been coming in after 3 years. So 2 years of the program we are running now. What are we trying to achieve by the end of this year? 100 targets. But in 2010, when I arrived, I have to be again very open on this, the team had already committed to 80 new targets for 2015. It's always when you arrive, you need to get a few presents. And one of them said, Mark, there's a bit more work to do. It's not like 2012 is finished. 2015, there is 180 instead of 100 targets. Fine. And by the way, it was the right thing to do, because you should always be early with big new targets. So it was good to already put some stretch in the team. So 18 new targets and 18 new commitments for 2015. If we look where we are on those, this again are not audited numbers, so I'll be just very clear with you. We are now achieved 83 out of the 100, and there are 11 on their way. Will we make these 11 over this financial year, so by April? Yes, we believe we are able to do so, but we just want to make sure that it is again audited and falsified. Will we then achieve all of them? No. Because there are a few, and I'll come back to that in a second, that we won't achieve. There will be 6 of them, and one of them I'll give the example, is our transfer into organic food. We said we're going to sell, we triple the sales of our organic food over the time frame of 5 years. We did not. Actually, organic food stayed sort of stable over these 5 years. And why was that? The market of organic food, both on the production side and the manufacturing side and the growing side, both on the consumer side, has not moved. So we also want to be very clear that some of the targets we can't achieve, we're very clear on we won't achieve. We're not going to push it uphill. We're not going to say, if the market isn't there, the consumer isn't there, and the production is there, let's make sure it works. We're also not trying to trick, therefore, our numbers to say we need to make 100 out of 100. It won't be 100. In these things, you have to be dead honest and audited and saying, no, probably a few of them we won't match. There's one on hold, of which we say, we're not sure yet, maybe when it's audited, we might be there. These are the 100 commitments 5 years ago. How much did we do over the last 2 years is not important. We now feel that we're achieving towards the 100. We also had our 80 new commitments. And in the last 2 years, we've already achieved 32 of these 80 commitments. And part of these commitments, by the way, was also stretching some of the original commitments. So while we had a target, we say just make a very much a bigger target. They're still on track to deliver quite a bit. There's issues on delivering and on hold. We say we don't know yet, because there's ample time. There could be change. Change in technology, change even in the way we find solutions to do things. Anyhow, the track record here of my colleagues over the last 5 years and the step changes we have done also over the last 2 years has been great. We've got a great team of people, very good atmosphere there, very well positively embraced by the business. It is part of the business. The bonus targets that I introduced when I came into the company for the senior executives, for myself, but also for the executive board, so all the people that are on the main board as executives, all have in their personal targets 25% of their, let's say, bonus pot for a year on individual targets is on plan A. As much as it is on things like costs, it's on plan A. We're one of the first companies to say, if you believe in something like sustainability, you have to put it in the business plans and put it in the targets. Even reward on it. Now, nice achievements, again, I'm trying not to make it advertising, although the team does a fantastic job, but the plan to achieve by now is 0 waste to landfill, carbon neutral, 80% reduction in carrier bag usage. These are the 5 Ps. Now, funny enough, if I bought that 5P bag, even before I was at M&S, and I buy these bags once in a while when I'm in, sometimes you don't have your carrier bag with you and you take the 5P bag and you feel a bit guilty because you're paying the 5P, but you don't know it goes to charity. We don't make money with that. We make sure that that is again charitable money. What we are good at is doing that. What we're not good at as a company and probably as a whole system is translating it to say it's very good for customers. It's really good. We're not telling a customer story. We're not engaging the consumer enough. If they would have known that these 80 million bags that we're saving would actually do a lot of good to the environment and the world, people would have gladly paid the 5P. We've not done that well enough yet. We've also done the clothing recycling with Oxfam. These are the one-day clothing recycling days where we ask people to bring back a shirt, get some voucher, and buy something new in our stores. That type of thinking is what I call full circle thinking. That's like, I as a consumer, I am not buying something and then disposing of it in a way I don't know yet. No, I am buying something, but I'm handing something over. So at the Oxfam exchange, which we have started now and which we've done a few times, it means that somebody comes into the door and says, I'd like this shirt, but brings back a pair of trousers. Not even bought with us. They get a voucher and they buy our shirt later on. And that is powerful because that is changing business models. We then have to take care of all these trousers that come back and all these shirts. So we have to make sure with Oxfam that it goes to the right place, or that it's reused, or that it is even sometimes completely used as an individual garment. Packaging reduction is important as well. Another one is converting to fair trade cotton. We are the largest manufacturer of fair trade cotton in the world. We even at some stage had probably the mountain of 1/3 of the fair trade cotton available in the world. It was very difficult for consumers to embrace it, and therefore it's not been as successful as we wanted. People don't pay a higher price for it. Sometimes even people don't pay the same price for it because at other places things are on a discount. So these are the two things which I feel a bit unfortunately that the organic market or the fair trade market in the economic a little bit downturn of 2008 have not accelerated. So we have to all be mindset and mindful, all of us with our own responsibility, and that's the second part of my story, is that we're going to fight harder than before. It's not like the game has been started, the game just starts now. Because what world are we living in? Are we going to do 180 of these achievements by 2015? We'll be very far. There will be honesty that might be another 4 or 5 or 6 that we can't make, but we'll try to do it. Is that a box-ticking exercise? No, it's not. Because it's really going into the heart of our business, because as I said, we can't change business processes without reaching these targets. So it's absolutely embedded in the business. But is it enough? I change you a small picture. The small picture is that this is the American dream. This is, if I look at the average of people around us here, that in the 70s and the 80s, we grew up with movies, we grew up with images, we grew up with status symbols of the elevation of the American dream. Now these are pictures of, go a bit further back, of the 60s and the 50s. But transferring that to the 70s, this is the dream that everybody's been brought up by the material presence of a car, of a radio, and everything that's invented we wanted to have. Now what's that built on? That's built on real things, on material things. These things also became available. So people came hungry when they saw them. They're very much used in advertisement. So we all know an advertisement that comes back. And we know that it's used by role models. So if we see the world of today, even more than the 70s, it is used as a role model. When a football player like Bobby Moore or Bobby Charlton in their days were driving a car, they were not looking for the cutest sports car to drive. They were not trying to always have the role model of doing something that is all too materialistic. There were people that did it with a sort of decency, and I'm not going to say that football players don't have the decency, but they're the role models now for making sure that everything is there, that is the newest bought, they will have as first. Movie stars the same. Famous people the same. Rich people the same. So the role model we have for people that step into the process in the West, so the role models we have in every of our, let's say every council in our country, but anywhere in Europe and in the Western world, live stronger on this than we've ever done before. Can you imagine a child of 15-year-old that didn't have a phone? You know, there will be outcry at home. A couple of years ago, we found it normal that you say, you know, you wait till you're 18 years old, why would you need a phone? It needs to be a smartphone now, there needs to be everything there. You know, the material world that Madonna was singing about, this is the world probably 4 times as big. Now imagine that there are 330 million Chinese in the next 3 to 5 years that are going to join the middle class. They are even stronger than us in this game. Any country that is now, because we are here in what we call a bit of more, you know, slow growth path, but Turkey is growing 8%, you know, middle class is growing, India is growing, China is growing. So if we look that the middle classes are growing, what are their dreams? And their dreams are stronger than our dreams were when we had their age. Now, I portrayed it, these are 2 planes. You got one plane of the resources that comes from the left-hand side. And you got one plane from consumption that goes in the other side. And they're going to meet. and they're going to meet not that far from now. And they're going to meet, funny enough, or sadly enough, in our generation, and not in the next generation. And they're going to meet, and it's going to be not good. So my thing is, it is about status, it is about desire, it is about aspiration and success. Because why is somebody buying that stuff? Why is somebody buying some of what we say the American, or what I call the new American dream? Because to elevate themselves. I myself, my first working days were in Kinshasa, Congo. And one of the largest times I spent in what I call underdeveloped world was when the wall fell down in 1994, 5, 6, 7, 8 in Czechoslovakia, the former part of Czechoslovakia, Slovakia, on the countryside. I've seen people after the independence of Slovakia and the Czech Republic, because I came in 18 months after independence, it was in 1993. I saw what happens when you have your first money to spend. How this runs. How people, of course, are hungry for something that they never had before, which is very normal. But if you have the role model set for aspiration, desire, and success like we have today, we have an issue. Funny enough, what are the role models that we set down for a sustainable world? They're fragmented, because they're not really joined up. They're unavailable. It's a beautiful car, by the way. It looks much more sexier than most of the cars now that are made as electric cars or what you call fuel-efficient cars. It's a BMW sports car that would be okay. Is it sexy enough? Is it already as sexy as the Ferrari is? I use that word because you need to create desires with this. You know, iPad is something that is not only beautiful and it's not only functional, there is a desire to it. There's a hunger. You need to create hunger. You need a real desire of hunger to get it. Do we have that world yet? It's expensive. Most of the things that we have are too expensive. When they're sustainable, they have an up price. And they're stigmatized, because I painted the nice pictures here. If we paint here the pictures of how people sort of see the green world, it's a bit like wearing very thick socks, not shaving in the morning. And that is, in fact, a stigmatized world that is untrue. Because we need to go to a role model. We need to try to find, and you have to help, because it's your role. It's my role and your role. I'm gonna drive it. You have to help me, and you have to do it yourselves. Is we have to find a new norm. How can we get this into territory? And we have to ask and push all of our suppliers, all of the chain, all of consumer goods industry, all of consumer goods industries together with their suppliers to try to find new norms. Because if the new norm is not set in a way that is desirable aspiration and success, this is going to be an issue. Now, before I then go to this beautiful picture that looks a bit American style-like, as I said to Declan this morning, I always like to be on the background. When Rita Week said, do you want to do a speech? I never give speeches because I like to do the work at home. You know, I'm more rather on the background doing the work than on the forefront. But just to lift up a bit of the curtain on what I think is important is I've been in for about 5-6 years in certain Davos sessions, and most of them on sustainability, which already came from my Heineken days, because in Holland sustainability was a bit further these days, not that Holland is further, but the sustainability issue was in Sweden and Holland more on the agenda already. This year I had the honor to, Davos is very big, we're here now nearly 1,000 people, there's about I think 3,000 or 4,000 people there. But there are a few what they call closed room sessions. So there's a group like this, which is 40 people, and they are a day together, and no journalists allowed and nobody in the room. And in fact, that is the closed room for sessions on one of the pillars that's on either macroeconomic things where the bankers come together and they discuss what are their ideas for the euro, or there's also a group that's industry-led by consumer goods. And these are all the consumer good industry CEOs, so that is Coca-Cola, Kraft, all the last one, Nestle, Unilever, and it's all the retailers. Nike is in there, all the retailers like Walmart, Tesco, Carrefour, etc. So with these 40 people, I was asked to chair that day. I can tell you, I'm never scared to talk to audiences, and I'm also not scared to chair a table. But these were big egos in the room, because you talk about the 40 people, that at least the 40 CEOs that really have not only their own agenda, but are powerful people. And I had set the agenda for that day because I knew I was asked to chair that day, of course, 6 months before. And I just wanted to share the same type of picture. Because I had been already 6 years in, I had seen what sustainability had done over 5 years. And it had done great work. But I showed them some of these pictures that we also use within M&S. This is a picture that we developed in M&S where we said, look guys, when we talk about what the vision, if you talk about sustainable consumption, you've got two lenses. You've got the industry lens and you've got the consumer lens. Now what does it say? Is what you do as an industry or what you do as a retailer, you're actually working very hard on the things that is called raw materials and manufacturing. What you just saw me saying on what we said we're saving on packaging, that's a lot on the back office, as I would say. What is the consumer lens on needs, desires, expectations, what I thought, is it the American dream or another dream? Retailing, marketing, consumer side, how much do we perform on that side? So if I simply split it in two and saying, where do we do all our activity, where have we done all our activities over the last 5 years? It's very much cleaning up our own house and the houses behind us. How much have we done forward-looking towards actually educating people, consumers, education, children? How much has it gone forward? I just listed for quick what kind of projects they are running on the industry side, not only at the level of Davos, but Consumer Goods Forum as well, is scaling sustainable consumption, water, green growth, very strong again on wellness, all kinds of big projects. And by the way, extremely strong projects. I think that the development that industry has done over the last 5 years together, because I recall that the first Davos session when we were in the room, we were like 12, and there was not a common agenda yet. You're 4 years down the road. Everybody is talking to each other. There is a common agenda on sustainable consumption to try to scale it, but there's also on water, green growth, deforestation. These are things that are picked up strongly. But if we then go to for ourselves and not as industries together, how much is done on the top end? I'll ask you in the Q&A, how much are we doing? How much are we creating awareness and engagement? How much are we trying to get to what I call making sustainable consumption more personal? Now the power is like it was with the people in the room, it was actually with you. So you can make your difference to say how can we get our business engaged. If we don't do it, because again I say I might be a bit older than most of you, but our generation, I even said to my colleagues in that room, you know what, if you look at the middle side of the power of technology, we can use it positively. But suppose it's not used positively. The Arab Spring could be 2 floors up here, where there are 20 to 25-year-old people sitting together, youngsters, and saying, what the hell are these guys doing on industry? Why aren't they changing their agenda? If on this floor, in the same hotel, there's a young generation small conference of 25 people, you don't need more of them because the rest is all aligned via social media that would say, we don't accept it anymore. This is not the Arab Spring, this is just the youth spring. This is the spring of the next generation. We're not accepting anymore that you're sort of, and I won't use a bad word in English because there's too many journalists in the room, but why are you messing up with our future? Why aren't you doing something about it? And I said, that is not to try to paint a sort of George Orwell picture, but I think the responsibility for all of us here in the room goes a step further. We have to start organizing it. So what I'm saying is, making sustainable consumption more personal, get to the next level of engagement. Use technology for that. So I used, a couple of years ago, the example, 2 years ago in Davos, the example to also get things energized, by saying people were talking then about supply chain and saying, well, supply chain, I'm halfway down organizing my supply chain. And I said, look, halfway down the supply chain, a mobile phone in a couple of years' time will allow people to not only have the ability to find the source where your thing is bought, but also to communicate with that factory and later on to even visualize what the people on that production line are actually doing and a step further, where they're living, how they're treated, whether there's a toilet, whether the toilet is clean. So don't be mistaken that if you haven't started with your supply chain, 2 years ago I said, you better go home now, stop the conference and start working at it. Because this is going to be transparent. Actually, the consumer and technology is going faster than industry or retail. So we better get it sorted. So in fact, that train has left the station. We better make sure you're there. If you're not there, start doing it immediately and make sure that by the end of the calendar year you got it all fixed. And you know what you're doing in your supply chain back to source of supply. I know how difficult it is because we have ourselves done projects, or we are on a run of a project with 10,000 farmers. And we've got trying to build 200 what we call Plan A factories in all kinds of countries where it's not logical. The first thing to think about sustainability is not always logical in Sri Lanka, in Bangladesh, in India, and China, but we do it because we ask our suppliers, if you're not there today, you'll miss out on tomorrow. And we want to work only with you when you're with us in that same territory. It's not always the cheapest, but it's the only way forward. And why I say the only way forward is the last sentence. It's the default choice. Now, I can't tell you what your business models need to change, because you have all different business models. How your business models have to either change or adapt over, call it, the next 5 years to come to a bit more sustainable consumption. But if you change it to sustainable consumption, please don't only think about your suppliers. Please think about your customers and the way they shop. Please think about how they could be full circle, cradle to cradle, how they could sort of be part of that engagement of the newer world. Because if we start doing that, then we still have a chance that when these two planes meet, either they just not collide, but they pass each other, because we have found new directions. Thank you very much.
Mark, thank you, and you've kindly agreed to stay for some questions as well. There's an extraordinary comparison you made there with the Arab Spring, which I want to ask you about in just a moment. Remember, as always, if you put your hand up, wait for the microphone, catch my eye, then we'll get a microphone to you. You know Richard Brasher, formerly of Tesco, pretty well. What's your reaction to the news of his resignation? I have,
since I'm in Britain, which is now 6 years, always said I never talk about competitors, even not to investors, media, and in our conferences, or since I'm always on the background. So let me not take an exception now to talk about Tesco. The person of Richard Brasher, I know, has been absolutely first class, not only for Tesco, but also for the industry. So I must say, it's an absolutely first class man, and he's done a lot of good. So if there is something to say, he's been absolutely first class, not only for Tesco, but also in the environment of cooperation that there are on IGD level, on other levels, and I think IGD would say the same. So I think it's I think, a great man. But there's always changes in businesses, and I think we should therefore always respect somebody's decision. There's changes in businesses, and therefore I think it's a pity for retail. I'm not making any comments for Tesco. Mm. If he's so good, it makes you wonder why he was forced out. No, I'm not going to go further in questions there. Worth a try, though. No. I wonder how content your own management team is. You've had 3 senior defections in recent months. Yeah. Why are so many of your senior people jumping ship? It's a good question, and I'm glad to answer it here. We've had... Yeah. I think we have to make a comparison in that case, that these were 3 people from what I call the top 100. So there were no people from the executive board leaving, but these were 3 people in our top 100. In our top 100, we had over the last 18 months, we had 15 people coming in from outside, so hires. We had 15 people, but even by yesterday more, because there were 2 announcements at the same time as this announcement, so more than 15 internal promotions. So we had 15 people that either got a bigger job or a promotion in 18 months' time. Now, if the natural flow out would be 3 people over 18 months, I'm not going to say it's nearly too low. I'm not asking people to leave, but we should be also very honest that if it's Marks and Spencer's, everybody's going to say we got 3 defections or 3 people that are leaving out of 18 months in top 100. We have the lowest churn in business. So in the retail business, I've been now for 6 years in retail here, both at Morrison's and at the senior level of the executive board of M&S. I've started working with the people we have and didn't bring my own team in. I don't think it's needed. So for management style, it's just a difference of style. I don't need to replace 5 friends of myself to say that's the only way to do it or to have control. But there is a natural churn, and I think, again, I have great respect for the people that work with us, that come in, and even for the people that go out. Because if you talk to them all individually, they all have a warm heart on what we're doing. They're all supportive on the direction. But as I say, if we wouldn't have 3 out of, then I get a bit of a problem to promote people, because young people want to have a chance as well. As there will be a churn absolutely over the next 5 years, of every year a few people going and a few people coming. But it will be at a lower level than you see at probably industry comparisons. And again, I don't want to talk about comparisons, but it is a low level.
That's a fantastic spin on the departure of a member of your management committee.
It's not a spin. It's just the fact that when somebody is there and has been gratefully working and has some new aspirations in life, it's great that somebody wants to start a new episode. Because have we seen how retail, it's a bit promiscuous industry, you know? We've got everybody that comes from that and works in that and works in that. So I think it's very logical that there will be 1 or 2 people that move on. And I say, if that's with great respect, it's fine.
What about Kate Bostock?
Let's not make this I thought it was about sustainability.
I'm asking you about the sustainability of Kate Bostock at the minute.
It's more on the sustainability of press, because I think that's why I said to him, I always like the role of a Tom Hagen to be a bit more on the background instead of the forefront in The Godfather. I therefore, there's not been much to write about with us, you know, no big boardroom issues, etc. So it's been very quiet. So anything that's a rumor becomes big. I think this has been written about now for, I think it was before I came, it was when I came, and I'm now nearly 2 years in. So I think people should start stopping second guessing and saying, Kate said she's happy with us, and then, you know, just take their conclusion. So
sometimes these rumors start with the individual themselves. You're confident that she's not leaking?
No. I think we should concentrate. I think there are far bigger issues. This is not to deny anything on our organization, because I'm as transparent internally, and I have a top 100 meeting again coming up next week, and if there's a question on the same questions, I answer the same questions. But the main issue is, let's not play hocus pocus. We are a company like anyone else. Yes, we are much more on the scrutiny of the media. Yes, gossips always work better because that gives press media. But I think press has a responsibility there as well, is to focus on the things that are important. And these are, it's not to say, because I know him longer than now, he's a serious journalist. But I think it's just for the other people on the first row. We should start being, in this country, focusing on the things we need to do. So when we say there's a little, you know, distant growth here in the UK, but people are growing and trying to do a lot of work in either Turkey or outside to grow and export the best of Britain, we should concentrate on things we're doing well and not on the 1 or 2 things that people are just second guessing. If it's a fact, I'll comment on it. But I'm not going to save energy. I'm going to save my energy on the things that gossip. We should stop gossiping too much in this country and focus on the things we need to do.
All right. Gentleman in the orange tie.
So my name is Guy Strafford from Proxima. I actually do want to ask about sustainability. So most of M&S's impact is actually, in terms of environmental impact, is through its suppliers. In reality, because through the electricity, ultimately is made, the carbon dioxide is made by the supplier, or you take through your supply chain. How can you get your suppliers to consistently bring you the best ideas, the best innovations? Because it's through them that so much of your impact can be actually had in terms of your vision for what you're trying to achieve, which is, I think, is very exciting. Right?
I think you're right. With us, it's been largely with suppliers. And it's just making sure that the whole integral business has a focus on this. So nothing is developed as a new packaging without going through the standards of, is it reducing packaging or not? So you can only come to, for instance, food waste packaging, which is the largest chunk to attack, or something in clothing like hangers recycling and these kind of things, without thinking the whole business model through. So I think we have been consistently driving that with our suppliers. By the way, what we also do on an annual basis, we bring all of our major suppliers in a room. So that's why I said I can't give you all the details on this year, because we have 2 things. We've got, 1, the auditing that we want to do on this, because we don't want to talk about numbers unless they're properly audited. Secondly, we have what we call a supply chain conference on this. So I will be in a couple of weeks' time sitting down and talking, like I've done now, but even more specific in certain areas, to our suppliers and saying, this is the next direction we need to take. So we try not only to do it via the organization by embedding it in our total business model, we even call all of the leading persons from our suppliers to a high-level conference to say, how can we make next steps? And that engagement has helped tremendously because everything starts at the top. So it's very simple. If they get engaged, if they see that they talk to colleagues there that are already in a totally different environment, then you get change.
And you're convinced that customers think that is important in this era when there's so much pressure on price, when there's so much pressure to have discounts, and we saw the effect that had at Tesco. Declan, I think you're right, and I think that's why probably my plea here is stronger than ever before, because we've seen from 2008 onwards that there was a shift of a bit of less attention span, and then now in 2010 again, the attention span of media and others was a bit less because it is then the economic paragraph that comes to the forefront. But I think it's more important than ever because it's not only here, it is all the consumer goods and all the things that are coming to these markets that are called the emerging markets or actually the already now developed markets. So yes, the consumer needs to be re-woken up, but not re-woken up by something the government does. We cannot ask government to do that. We should do it. We are consumer-facing people from consumer-facing industries on the retail side, on the consumer industry side. We are the ones that have the direct contact. We can take our own responsibility there. So you're fully right. Is it more difficult? Has it been back on the agenda? Yes. Am I therefore probably hitting it even a bit harder in the forums like Consumer Goods Forum where all the CEOs meet or the other forums on the background? Yes, because I think it's more needed now because the paragraph for the next 5 years is extremely important. How does sustainability fit alongside a commitment to cut costs by, what was it, an additional £30 million?
Well, it's a very relevant question because actually what we have experienced in our business case is Plan A makes money. I'll keep the breath for 2 seconds because sometimes people think you should do these things, but it makes money. So if you're doing the right things and you're cutting energy, it saves cost. If you're cutting packaging, it saves cost. If you're cutting in your supply chain certain steps, it saves cost. It not always saves cost because when we talk about what I call our Plan A factories, means that we have a plan with a factory in Bangladesh. We have there I went to one of the factories that is one of the best Plan A factories in the world, and it doesn't sit here. It sits actually in Sri Lanka, and it makes our lingerie. And if you go there and you see the solar panels and you see everything there, but also our Marks and Start program for disabled people, there were 3 people on in a wheelchair there. And 3 people on the wheelchair were therein because we have a Marks and Start program where we have people that are disabled or behind that we want to employ. And they changed their lives. And actually, when then later on with the owner walking through, I said to him, how's the experience, how does it work? He said, it changed their lives, but here, you can't believe the work ethics of these people are just amazing. And it has done something to the others as well, because these guys are so committed. They go for it 90%. So in that sense, that's not cheaper. Let's not be mistaken. If you do that, that's not saving money, because then you need a midterm commitment. I don't say a long term, you don't have to build their facilities, but it's a midterm commitment you have to give these guys by giving them also some trust. So can we get a cheaper bra than going somewhere else? Probably. But we want to have a quality assurance, and we want to make sure it's sourced in the right way. So not always does it make money for you, but there are ways in what you do in your cost cutting that are aligned with what you do in your savings on energy and sustainability.
Thank you. We'll take 1 or 2 more if we have them. There's a hand here, but I see one right at the back. Let me take that one first, and then this one here. Go ahead.
Morning, I'm George MacDonald from Retail Week.
Oh, hello, George.
I wonder if I can ask about something else again. You've been making a lot of changes in the shops, everything from navigation to increased segmentation of the brands and the introducing multi-channel elements. Can you share with us how that's all going? What are the early indications of how they're going down with the consumer?
I think, again, I'm not because I don't want to talk about retail subjects, but that's actually for another time, and it's probably for an update for the city first if I want to do it professionally. We've got a few pilot stores out there, and we haven't rolled it yet out in our whole estate, so I'm only giving the updates to the city when when they're appropriate. But yes, we're working to just find a better, what I call, consumer model with our stores. So I'm not going to give any comments, unfortunately, George, because I'm in the midst of 2 reporting periods, so I can't give any color to results there or any color to these stores. I'd like to highlight, and it's simply because you see how passionate I am on this subject, because this is what it's all about now. And in 2 months' time, in May, I'll be standing in front to also talk about numbers and changes. So any questions? So sorry about that. But we are I would say, on a very good journey there. So can I get another question on this, please?
I could say there is a tradition of Marks and Spencer bosses just saying the first thing that comes into their head at this conference and then putting out an emergency statement afterwards. If you want to continue that tradition, if you want to carry on with that, we're quite happy to.
No, Declan. we both know that Stuart has been 100% professional. These things these things didn't happen.
Over here.
Good morning, Jeremy
Good morning.
Siegel. Yesterday afternoon, Ian Cheshire spoke about retail expansion overseas.
Yeah.
And he warned that you as Marks and Spencer might find your competitor set in continental Europe much more sophisticated than when you left, people like Zara and H&M. In that light, and perhaps with the environmental light, how will M&S play overseas better than it did last time it was there?
Again, it's not related to this, so I'll keep that very brief. I think the thing with M&S is that we have tried 3 times internationally. We went to Canada, we bought Brooks Brothers, and we went to Western Europe and then retreated exactly 10 years ago. I think when you look at these things, I think the M&S brand has still is bigger than the company, still has a very good resonance in most of these markets. The issue is you have to build organization. So the thing we are doing now is building organization. So we hired some people and we mixed them up with some M&S talent that is building true organization with international capabilities. And that's what we have been doing over the last 18 months. And therefore, when I now see how we are moving internationally, we do it with a structured organization, with a plan, with a way to do it. And by the way, stores in Paris in the past were doing well for us. So the store we now have in Paris is doing well for us. So it's not about Paris, or it's not about returning to the Western Europe. The world has become bigger, and therefore we feel that want to be part of. By the way, when we say Marks & Spencer's is to become a multi-channel international retailer, it's not to just have a nice sentence out there. It's just the world of tomorrow. So the world in 5 years' time is going to be about international multi-channel retailing, because people are buying international over the web, getting things flown in logistically, returning things, that's where the world goes. So if we're not going in that direction, then we're not going where the world goes. So we're not doing it because of luxury, we're doing it because it's needed, and we're going to get there.
I can see there's a hand at the back. Is it from one of the 2 people who are standing up at the back?
Yes.
Yeah.
Am I right in thinking you're one of the young people involved in B&Q's sustainability program?
I am.
Yes.
Really, what I wanted to ask is, you mentioned how young people are starting to question about sustainability. Is there anything you're doing at the moment, or anything you plan to do to help young people really get more grips so they can really understand the specific issues?
Mark,
Well,
just to give you context, these there's a group of young people here who are giving a presentation later in the morning about their work with B&Q.
It's very appropriate. But I think what I have said internally, and what we are doing more and more in the group of industries, is making things public. You know, everybody was doing the things maybe a little bit on sustainability to also show that their company was doing best, win prizes, CEOs that want to win prizes, etc. And I have said to all the colleagues that I've spoken to, you can have all of our information. So if you want to have information, even, we want to share what we have. If you look into not only our reporting, but if there are questions, now we are not the ombudsman of the government, so the ombudsman of UK, so we cannot help everybody building his program, but lots of people are building the program with us. So what I think is the best way to get forward, to get an alignment with people, and particularly with the next generation, is to put things on the web. And that's what we're doing as well, to make sure that we bring as transparent as possible what we have found, what we are good at, what we haven't found that doesn't work on the web, so that people are aware anywhere in the world to find, therefore, a connection of what we do. Now that is something we would want to do, but I think something that needs to be done by complete industry. And that's the way that people around can learn, see, help, blog, assist, infiltrate if they want to say you're not doing it well, because that is the openness that's needed.
You've been very generous with your time. Thank you very much.
Good to see you again.
Mark Bolland.
Thank you.